Let's take a tour of eFlow Projector. So first of all, we've got our landing website here, the overall home page, and some detail about the tool, so how it was generated, what kind of the backstory is around eFlow Projector, and how it works. Some detail there about the computational methods and the like. And then under the support, there's some FAQs. The tutorials collects a whole bunch of videos, including this one, which is probably how you found us, and a change log here. So each time we do a new release of the tool, we include in the change log what functionalities changed in that. So let's jump in and have a look at the tool. Okay, so I've logged into the tool here. You can see me here, Nick Marsh, logged in. If I drop down here, any other systems that I'm a member of, I can jump to as well. So here's a little empty demo one, so one we've used for some of the other videos, which has got a very simple system set up based around Gippsland. But let's go to something a bit more complicated, which is the demo system for Victoria. So I'll work in that system, and in that one we've got 4 main regions. So northern, then a bunch of catchments within there, and a series of different reporting sites. So this is the overall system setup here, where we define the nested biophysical elements here. So regions, catchments, subcatchments, sites, and within each of those, the prevailing climatic conditions and the flow data associated with it. In the configure scenario screen, we've got where we develop the collection of flow rules. So we've just pulled up basically the last scenario that was run, and in here we've got the partial success table. So these are the default partial success tables, magnitude, duration, count, independence. That's for the freshest type flow rules. We've got partial success for low flow, oversupply flow rules, and the multi-year freshers flow rules. So close all those ones up. Give us a bit more room, and then we're going to have a look at each of those different spatial units. So the region, the catchment, and then the reporting sites that have the flow data associated with them. And we can choose scenario specific flow data. So this is where if you're running climate change scenarios, for example, using a hydrologic modeling platform, you can throw that in here and represent that as at a scenario level, the flow time series to run against each of these flow rules. So we've got a freshest flow rule here. This one's going from December to May. We've got a threshold here of 350 megs a day in drought. Very dry is the same. In fact, we're all the same all the way through. Let's have a look at this freshest flow rule. So we've got no requirement in drought, or very dry, or dry, but we do have a requirement during the average and the wet years. So we've got a big collection of flow rules across each of these sites within our configuration here that represents a scenario. So as we change things in the scenario, we save it, and then ultimately we run it, and that appears in the scenario library. So in this case, I've just got one scenario in here, which we opened. I can copy that scenario, so I can change it, modify the flow rules, change the partial success parameters and see what that might look like. I can delete it, I can download the results, or I can explore the results. So I can click here to explore the results. It takes us to the explore results page for that particular scenario. So this particular case, we're looking at the 2019-20 Victoria Environmental Water Holder water requirements for that year. So we can look at that year. These are what the results look like. This is summed up across the central region. So for the freshers component, the magnitude, duration, count, independence, and the overall performance. And then for the low flow, the magnitude, duration, and the overall performance for the low flow for the whole central region. And we can expand that out to look at each individual component. So if you tooltip across these things, you'll see the count, the number of flow rules involved in each one. So where was one here? So Tarago we had 9. Let's expand that out. Reach 2 is a reporting site. And I can expand that out to look at each individual flow rule to see how they've performed. So these are all freshest type flow rules. And then down here we've got one low flow rule for within the central region, Tarago catchment and Tarago River Reach 2 reporting site. And that is reporting across all the different reporting tiers. Now I can turn these off. I roll them back to look at just our level 1 and level 2 reporting tiers. So these might be the critical environmental flow requirements that we're trying to achieve. And I can jump to a different year. How would those flow requirements have performed in a different year? And a different year? And a different year. Or we can see that in a multi-year view here to see a time series plot. So we've got that same central region. Where were we looking here? We were looking at the Tarago, Reach 2. Oh, there's a lot of empty years here. That's not particularly exciting one to look at. Look at the Werribee. It's got a nice long flow time series with lots of results. Werribee Reach 8. And then these are the individual flow rules. So this will be a high flow rule. It's in blue. Going to have a look up here. I'm saying low flow rule in blue, high flow rule in red. So there's a low flow, there's a high flow rule. And what we can do is look at the subcomponents in that as well. So I can turn on the magnitude for the freshers or high flow, and I can turn on the magnitude for the low flow rules as well. So we can see not just what the overall score is, but what the relative components that contribute to that score is through time across each of these different spatial configurations. So on and so forth. So that's a way to explore it, and if that's not enough, what you can do is download the results. I'll show you a quick look at what that the results here look like. So we're running for a lot of sites for a lot of years in this case. So give you a feel for what that looks like. Once we're able to open it up. There we go. So the structure of this file, it's our run date, the reporting year that we care about. In fact, what's probably easier if I select that, and what we're going to look at here. Let's put the filter on. So if I scroll down here, we've got each of the reporting years. 2021, so these are all the flow rules for 2021. Scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down. And then we're 2019-20, so there's a few hundred, several hundred flow rules, and that's reported for each year. So if we go back here, these are all the reporting years that we've run this for. I'll unselect that, and let's just have a look at that year. That's fine. And then we've got the region. So we could just look at a region, the central region. We could just look at the Tarago. Okay, so we're chopping it down now. So these are just the flow rules that have been run for the Tarago for that year. And those flow rules have a name, they've got an ID, they've got a description, they've got whether they're level 1, level 2 or level 3 reporting rules. They've got the type of flow rule, low flow, freshers or more, and then the overall score for that year for the magnitude, duration, the count, and the independence. So this is a low flow rule, so low flow rules only have magnitude and duration components, and then freshers have a magnitude, duration, count, and independence component. And then max time relates to a multi-year rule, and then this is the overall score for that flow rule for that year. This is the eFlow contribution, so the relative proportion of the magnitude that's contributed through released environmental water. So for this particular flow reel, which achieved a 66% success, just over 0.5% of that success was due to water that was released. This one 1.8, this one 1.6. And then if we scroll across further, you'll get a report here about any errors or warnings associated with the flow rule. And then you've got some details now about each of the individual flow rules. So the start month and end month that the flow rule applies to, and then the settings for what to apply in a drought, very dry, dry, average, and wet. All the different criteria. So you've effectively got all the details that are entered in to describe the flow rules as well as the results. So that is a quick tour of eFlow Projector.